Bonjour, I'm Jeffrey Weissman here at John Ali TV. You may know me from Back to the Future 2 and 3, Pale Rider, Twilight Zone movie, any number of fun television shows, or get to know me.
Back with us. So, Jeffrey, I just want to know, just before we start, I just want to know, how are you?
Comme ci, comme ça.
It's been a long time, man.
I'm happy to be alive. You know, this is interesting times, and as the saying goes, it's good to be alive in interesting times. I'm happy to be here. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to have you on the show. Like it's a little bit of a dream come true for me because I was watching you since I'm a little kid, and we are in 22, and like years ago we were in 2050. Maybe should I turn up the screen upside down and then we can have a proper talk, in the future? No.
Yes, we'll talk about why George was upside down.
I want to know everything.
Okay.
I want to know everything. But so you're here with us to talk about, maybe the best trilogy ever, period. Also, there's The Godfather. But anyway, Back to the Future is the best trilogy ever. So how it feels, then and today to be a part of that such a legacy,
It's wonderful. It's very exciting for me because I was a fan of the first film when it came out.
Yeah.
And I had worked with Crispin Glover the year before he got cast as George in the first film. And
really,
when Back to the Future came out in 1985, I was co-starring with Clint Eastwood in a film called Pale Rider, his return to Westerns.
Love it. Yeah.
So I went to see Back to the Future, already being a fan of Christopher Lloyd and Mike Fox. And when I saw Crispin, I had worked with him on a film just 2 years previous at the American Film Institute. So I thought he was fantastic, and I called him up to congratulate him. And then, 88, just 4 years later, I was asked if I could be a photo double for him, stand-in. And then after having a screen test in the young George makeup, I was told I'd be playing George, which I couldn't fathom. I couldn't believe they could carry on the film without him. I figured he had a conflict with another film or something he couldn't get out of. Very little was told to me at the time. And I even called him at the time and asked him to say a good word for me because I needed the work before I knew I had the role. Got the role in the 11th hour. They obviously didn't know if they had Crispin or not. The negotiations obviously fell apart. But I came in. The scenes in the script of Paradox was the name of part 2 and part 3 in the same script. And the 2015 scenes were a variety of colors, like a rainbow, because each time there was a rewrite, they changed the color of the page. In one version, hanging upside down, the ortholev, they had Marty hanging upside down.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah, and I think the explanation was that he had thrown his back out playing squash. A lot of legends have come up over the years. One of them, I think Bob Gale even said was, and fans think that they had George upside down to obscure that it was another actor in the role. Yeah. I also have heard that Crispin often would underhit or overreach his mark on the floor for cameras focus. There are marks on the floor, and you have to hit the mark for driving a car or catching the milkshake on the counter, whatever. And that Crispin obviously didn't often hit his mark, so they thought if we hang him upside down, put him on this railing track that goes from outside the front door through the living room, through the TV room, and into the kitchen, we can control him, and he'll always be in focus on his mark.
That's crazy.
I don't know.
I thought it was a future thing. No, it was an acting thing,
I've met Edward, who designed the ortholev of the future. Maybe he'll have a clear explanation. I'll ask him, and I'll get back.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's just the beginning of the life, and you already share a lot of inside things. So you were a part of, like I said, a big legacy, a big sci-fi movie. How do you see now sci-fi movie? Because obviously it evolves to something very huge. Everything is like huge, but at this time, Back to the Future was like the reference. It was like it, there was not okay, we have Star Wars, we have like Superman, but Back to the Future was like the, how many say that, like a touchstone, for sci-fi movie. How do you see now sci-fi movies nowadays, comparing to then,
I was raised in the 60s and 70s when the special effects were either
created,
models or makeup or costumes, and with the advent of CGI, of course, things changed so dramatically. Star Wars being on the cutting edge of that, and I was a huge Star Wars fan. Watching the evolution, moving from models to CGI, it was depressing for me. I loved seeing the model makers get the work. I loved seeing these incredible models and perspective with camera and such.
Miniature, everything, and practical thing, yes.
Yeah, and with Back to the Future 2, that was sort of a mix of the two. There was the advent of CGI. Example, my shoes that I'm hanging upside down are actually white tennis shoes when we shot, and in the film they changed them to brown sandals or something. So I had a little early CGI. The camera itself, that Panaflex, Panavision, VistaVision on the track run by the Tondro program, was able to splice the film inside the camera. So Michael or Tom, whoever needed to play multiple roles in the same scene with themselves. So it was very complicated, very cutting edge. I was very excited to work with the same production team that did Star Wars. Spielberg was in on co-producing with a lot of Frank Marshall and Kathleen Kennedy, and then of course I worked earlier with George Miller, who did the Road Warrior films, Mad Max, and then I of course on Back to the Future working with Robert Zemeckis, who did Who Framed Roger Rabbit, who I was a huge fan of. It was just thrilling for me, and to see the art direction that Rick Carter did with Back to the Future. I would go out of my way to come visit sets of scenes that I was not in. The hoverboard chase, just was that Hill Valley of 2015 was art directed within an inch of its life. Everything to the finest detail. So many things never made it to the screen. It was really a remarkable set, and down to the costumes, the incredible makeups and special effects, like with Spike's eyes. You don't see her eyes very much, and very briefly, but she had already one blue eye and one green eye, and then they put red lenses on her. There were the very minute details of really wonderful effects right and left, and seeing the cars fly, of course, and it was really great to be a part of something that's so cutting edge at a transitional time for Hollywood.
It is, yeah. It is a transition, like you said. Before we continue, I have a guest in the room. He's a French fan of the saga. So you know him by the name of Remy?
Oh, Remy, yes.
Yeah, he's there with us, and he say, "Hey, I know you love Back to the Future, and I would love to have Jeffrey Weissman, aka George Mcfly, on the show." And I said, "Yeah, great, let's do it together." And say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do it." So I'm gonna let him enter now, and he has some questions for you as well. Yeah,
Remy,
enter to the future. He's there with us.
Hi, glad to have you here.
bonjour, mon ami.
How are you?
He's
Très
good.
bon. Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Rémi, tu veux poser tes questions du coup en français?
Ouais, on va le faire en français, ce sera plus
Ouais.
facile.
So Rémi is going to ask his question in French and I'm going to do the translation for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alors, première question, c'est, je voulais savoir comment vous avez été approché pour incarner le rôle de George Mcfly. Pourquoi pas vous? Pourquoi pas un autre?
Yeah. Yeah, you tell us just a little bit, about it earlier, but he wanted to do in details, have you been approached, for the role? Why you, not another guy,
Why me? I don't know. No, in 1987, I started playing Stan Laurel. In French, I know in German it's Dickendorf.
Yeah, Laurel et Hardy en français. Yeah.
Yes, oui. At Universal Studios Tour in Hollywood. Then I started playing Charlot a year later, Charlie Chaplin. And then after that, playing Groucho Marx a year after that. And I think because I was able to adapt and create these characters and bring them sort of to life, representing them in the entertainment theme park, they thought I was a good candidate to imitate, obviously, Crispin, because they didn't have Crispin, for recreating the Enchantment Under the Sea dance and the fight with Biff in the parking lot, along with the makeups. So I think that's maybe a reason why they chose me. I can't say for certain. I didn't look straight on very much like Crispin, but the profile, when I was in profile, it looked like it was definitely from Crispin's life mask.
And it was like, I found out just later that there was another actor, So because of the profile, like you said, we're gonna, that's it. Yeah. So that's you, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's Crispin, definitely there.
Excellent.
Unbelievable.
But full front, it didn't look so much like Crispin.
No. But like this, yeah, totally. Rémi, tu veux poser ton autre question?
Ouais. Alors, comment est-ce que vous entendiez avec les autres acteurs pendant le tournage? Comment l'atmosphère était?
Yeah. Rémi wants to know how was, the ambience on set with the cast, with the other actors?
For me, it was thrilling. It was very exciting. I love working mostly in front of the camera, also behind the camera. I, at first, was a little uncomfortable because I didn't know, I wasn't told why Crispin wasn't there. And I was obviously being put into the makeups that made me look like him. And I didn't know if they had secured the rights for his likeness. And I don't think other actors knew. The first time Mike Fox saw me, he was like, "Oh, Crispin isn't going to like this," which made me concerned. And also, the director even referred to me as Crispin at times. So it was awkward. It was odd. But by the end of the first work week, I was in Mike Fox's dressing room having a beer and chatting, and relaxed more with other cast members and on set. And they saw how hard I was working and accepted me finally. When we got to scenes where I had new lines as old George in 2015, they were giving some of my lines to Leah and some of my lines to Mike. And I was like, hey, I can deliver lines. I could do this. So I had to fight to get some of my lines back. And I came up with a few. I did some improvising.
I have a question for you. what is, and I'm sure there's plenty of that, but your best, memories, souvenir you have, or something you haven't keeping secret all that time,
Well,
so it's something you have in your heart,
Oh, I have so many.
I know.
Actually, spending time with the stars and the cast and the crew. There were very wonderful crew working with me, from the special effects handlers from Industrial Light and Magic to Dean Cundy, the cinematographer. Really, everyone working very hard, very professional, and the makeup crew were especially fantastic. You had Mike Mills, who was the foreman on Beetlejuice, was like my lead makeup artist. Nancy Vasta and the wonderful Sonny Berman, who just passed away during COVID. Kenny Myers. The makeup crew were top notch in the industry, and I had even some nice quality time with Billy Zane, hanging out with him in between the shoot on the the Enchantment Under the Sea dance. I also had some nice time with Elizabeth Shue, who would come and hang out with me, when we weren't working. I don't know if you can see the photo I'm showing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This was in my dressing room. There are a lot of great memories. We'd shoot incredibly long hours.
Yeah.
One day we shot, I remember, 26 hours long and had less than 8 hours before we were back in the makeup chair. And I was driving home, I was bleary-eyed, and all of a sudden I hear this screaming coming from the car next to me, and it was Mike hanging out his limousine window yelling at me, just messing around. And it was really fun because he's a playful guy who's feisty as hell and funny, and even though he's suffered the ravages of Parkinson's, he's still Mike Fox. He's still this wonderful man, and it's really great that he's lent his power to raising awareness and finding a cure with the research. And I think they've raised close to $1 billion, if not more.
That's amazing. It was like a big family, friends. That's amazing to hear that. Jeffrey, I had a subscriber, and he has a question for you.
Great.
But you already answered louder than better. He wanted to know, like, because he wanted to know how it was then, when Crispin Glover was on the boat, and then he left, and you on board, and then have to do the makeup things and everything to look like him, just like you said. But how did you? And that's the part very interesting in his question. How did you psychologically, approach the role? And what did the character of George McFly represent mean to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I like I said, didn't know I was going to be any more than a photo double or stand-in until the 11th hour. But at that point, I was given screen tests for makeup and lighting and so on and so forth that Crispin, Leah, and Tom were all part of. And so I was able to study those. And also knowing that I was now going to be playing George, I went back and looked very closely at his Crispin's center of gravity as George, how he would lead from his forehead and with his hands. I started studying very closely the performances so I could imitate and create that life. So with 2015 George, I still tried to lead with my head, even though I was upside down, or with the hand, or do the hair thing upside down, which led to some comedy. And one bit that was cut, if you have the DVD, I think it's in the deleted scenes, it's called Pizza, where George actually gets to rotate for pizza for the dinner that Lorraine has cooked in 4 seconds. Was it 4 seconds? And she comes over and says, "George, rotate your axis for dinner." Since my back had gone out on the golf course instead of squash, that Marty's back went out, I did my tribute to Crispin and did a golf swing for doing my tribute Crispin laugh. So in essence, I did what I could in the limited time I had on screen, try to do a tribute to Crispin, what he had created, because it was friggin' genius. In the kitchen, there was the fruit conveyance that came down from the ceiling.
With the grabs and everything, yeah.
And Lorraine asks Marlene to give your granddad a piece of fruit. So she hands me a banana, and I try eating a banana upside down, but the peel kept slapping me in the face. And Zemeckis thought it was funny, but it didn't stay in the film.
Sometimes, it happened a lot, but we are lucky because we have all the features, behind the scene on the Blu-ray now. This is very, like packed.
I have something behind the scene that is not on any Blu-ray. It was part of the Back to the Future Part 2 documentary that was cut out. I was just completely cut out of that because they didn't want, first of all, the public to know that there was going to be a different actor, and they didn't want Crispin to see my work or whatever, so he wouldn't sue. I'm like, really? But nonetheless, I got my hands on that footage. Would you like to see that?
Ça, c'est inédit et on le vit ensemble avec Jeffrey Weissman qui est juste là. C'est parti. Yeah, let's go.
So here, if I needed to be on the set by 9 in the morning, I had to be in the makeup chair by 4 in the morning. And Leah is in the chair behind me, Kenny Myers back to us, and Mike Mills facing us working on Leah. That's Sonny Berman working on me and Nancy Vasta, gluing me in. So I had about 9 different prosthetic pieces being glued on my head and neck and face. This would go on for a couple hours, and then I would get a little break to go have a quick breakfast. Or if it was a night shoot, often we only had Michael during the nights and weekends because he was shooting the last season of Family Ties during the day. Yeah. I was like, Mike, when do you sleep? And he said, in the limousine in between the studios. Poor guy, never slept.
That's awesome. Just watching the artist, creating things, I love it. That is amazing.
The Enchantment Under the Sea dance. Here we are. You heard Robert Zemeckis say Leah for the acting for this, and then Kevin, who was Michael J. Fox's photo double, playing the guitar on stage or crawling across the catwalk.
Rob is there.
And there you have it.
That's awesome to see that. Rémi has another question for you. Yeah.
Sure.
Moi, je voulais savoir aussi, qu'est-ce que vous retenez le plus de cette époque où vous avez participé à ces films cultes? Parce que je pense que ça se fait plus des films comme ça où il y a une synergie comme ça.
Yeah. What do you remember the most, from that time, Because those movies are like cult classic,
I remember, working, of course, very hard. And during production, Tom Wilson's wife, Michael J. Fox's wife, and my wife all gave birth to baby boys within 2 weeks of each other. And, get to the hospital as soon as we're off or what have you. It was pretty stressful, but also extremely exciting. As if we didn't have enough pressure with the shoot, we also had that going on in our personal lives.
So that's awesome. That's a good memory. That's a souvenir. I love it. That's awesome. Rémi, t'as une dernière question?
Oui, je voulais savoir aussi, est-ce qu'il était toujours en relation avec les acteurs du film, certains acteurs avec qui il s'entendait plus que d'autres?
Oui. Yeah. Are you still in touch with the cast and crew? Maybe at the convention?
We've had numerous cast reunions. The most recent one was in July. at the London Film and Comic Con was Christopher Lloyd and Claudia Wells, who played Jennifer in the first film, and Frances Lee McCain, who played Stella Baines, and myself. In 2015, we had 11 of the cast members at London Film and Comic Con. And I was able to do this last one, my own panel, where I was able to show that footage, and everyone, it was packed and people were like, wow, it was really exciting.
Of course.
And then finally, the Hollywood show in 2008 had the first cast and crew reunion. There were about 24 of the cast and crew at that. And that was pretty special because that was the first time we saw Michael in person with the effects of his Parkinson's. We got to spend a good half an hour with Mike for the first time in so many years since seeing him on set or working with him. And it was painful. It was very painful to see the ravages that the Parkinson's had set upon his body. But he was still Mike. He was still feisty, and we kidded with him. In fact, when we finally finished our visit with him, we went to lunch and left him with the crowd of 500 people. And we said, "Bye, Mike. They're all yours." And he was like, "Ah!" It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Big reunion. Yeah, it must be, like, how you say, also joyful and painful at the same time, so much emotional things.
It was because he's such a great guy.
I would like to share with you something, because I have a lot of subscribers, and one of them is he's a hard fan, of Back to the Future. His name is Dom. We call him Dom, and can check what he sent me today.
Dominic. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
A lot of artifacts. Look at this setup. That's awesome, right?
Where's your mind reading helmet?
I don't know where it is.
Wow, he's got a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Way to go, Dom. Looks like he's got the guitar. I wonder if he's got signatures.
Yeah, he's got the guitar. Yeah. That's awesome.
Way to go.
On t'embrasse, Dom. So
if Dom is still watching, here's a piece he needs to get.
Oh yeah. Let me. Yeah.
This was made by a fan.
I love it. Oh yeah, a fan did that.
Yeah.
For you.
For me, yeah. It's not on the market yet. I'm hoping one day we'll get the George Mcfly action figure from part 2.
I love it. This is awesome. Yeah, of course. Rémi, tu veux dire un dernier truc à
thanks
Jeffrey?
for your time. Thanks for all.
Oh, my pleasure. Great to see you, Remy.
I'm sorry, the connection is a little bit bad. Just wait a minute.
Fix it.
That's good. That's a good one.
Sorry.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
It was great being on your show. Please have me back.
Thank you.
And to all the fans, I'll hopefully see you in the future.
Will do. I will let you know when the podcast is released, and you can come back anytime, and I will do maybe a special, like all these, and I would like to have you on. Of course, I would love to have you on, of course, again. Thank you for your time, Jeffrey, your precious time, because time is everything now, and we love you so much. Thank you. Stay safe, Jeffrey, and keep doing what you do. We love you, man.
Thank you. All right.
Bye-bye.